What's up, everybody? I'm Katie.
And I'm Morgan.
And this is For Your Misinformation, a podcast dedicated to empowering women to become more politically engaged so we can act in our own best interest.
Let us identify the problem and tell you what we're doing and what you can do to help solve it.
Hi, Morgan.
Hi, Katie.
How are you doing?
I think I'm doing well for the circumstances.
Yeah.
But, I also feel like this whole social distancing, isolation thing has me feeling like I don't know what day it is.
Yeah.
Or who I am or what's going on. But I do know what day tomorrow is, and it's your birthday.
That's true.
Yay. Happy birthday.
Thank you. I, as an introvert, have been preparing for this time my whole life, and I feel ready for it, so I'm okay. I actually have a history of having really shitty, weird birthdays. Like my 13th birthday I spent at my best friend's grandpa's house who had just passed away, and we were organizing all his belongings. And then my senior year of high school, I had a huge fever, but still had to go to school because I was getting asked to prom that day on our morning announcements. And every year in college, my birthday fell over NCAAs. So I was happy to be at that meet, obviously, but it's not like you can do anything fun. And then I don't know, there's always something. And so this year it's a pandemic, and that's fine. We all have to sacrifice something. So this week, Morgan is going to lead us through a discussion about Syria. If you need a break from all this COVID-19 stuff, but we are going to check in a little bit first. So how is everything going with you with that?
I am an extrovert,
Mm-hmm.
so really, I'm not doing great.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't cried more than 2 or 3 times a day.
Aww.
So, I'm okay, that's fine. I'm, actively having conversations with a lot of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say friends, I mean hosts of the podcast that I listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And just making do. My coworkers are awesome. We had virtual tea time this week where we all
nice.
had a tea party over Zoom. So, you know what? I'm making the most of it. I'd say the worst part is just that I apparently have swapped social interactions for calories.
Yeah.
And so I can't stop eating.
See, my response to stressful situations is I completely lose my appetite. So I have eaten dinner every day this week, but that's pretty much been the only meal I've eaten because I just don't get hungry, which I don't know. It's also not great, but
okay, so this is definitely a recovering anorexic in me talking, but I am kind of jealous of people who do that. And
I know. Stress. I understand that this is coming from a disordered eating perspective, but I was damn, I should weigh myself. I wonder. And then I was Katie, stop it. There are more important things. Who gives a shit? So
yeah. And I'm just I can't control this virus. My whole life is out of control.
Right.
I am out of control. I am just going to continue being out of control and just spiral as far down as I can and eat a bag of ginger snaps dipped in peanut butter.
Mm.
It was delicious, but I probably didn't need 13 of them.
Yeah. Whatever you got to do to get through this. Do you want to talk about how your life, what kind of precautions you're taking, how your life has changed a little bit since the last time we talked?
Yeah. So we are all working from home now at my job, so that's great. It's a big adjustment from a work perspective and that personal perspective for sure. I would like to say that I'm so bothered by not being able to go to the gym, but I kind of like having the excuse not to have to go to the gym.
Yeah.
So I'm only going outside for things like running and those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
I also am, not going to the grocery store.
Right.
Stocked up,
Good.
week. And I'm not going to the store and scolding people who do go to the store when they don't need to. So just taking those precautions. Obviously still doing just good, like hand hygiene and cleaning and those kinds of things. Yeah. But since I'm not leaving my house besides to like walk my dogs, where then I'm not interacting with anyone.
Yeah.
I don't have to like obsessively scrub my hands the way that I was when I did still have to go to work into an office building with hundreds of other people. And so that's nice. It's been good for my hand skin.
I bet.
Yeah. What about you with your life?
So we only leave the house to walk the dog. People have been really excellent about social distancing. Like, people cross the street, we like wave to each other. It's still nice to see our neighbors and stuff, but nobody's come anywhere near us, which has been good. Tomorrow I do have to pick up some medication for my mom at the pharmacy, but we're going to go through the drive-through, recycle the bag that it comes in right away, and then wash my hands very well. And make sure that while I'm out of the house, I'm not touching my face. But yeah, I'm doing a lot of like checking in with my friends and stuff also, and just trying to answer as many questions with accurate, evidence-based, science-based information when I can, because people don't know where to go for that anymore.
Yeah, it's true. And new stuff is constantly coming up about this. I think I'm on a new CDC webinar or another webinar by health professionals every day, twice a day. And there's new information like every hour, it seems.
Okay. Even though I don't work in public health anymore, technically, how do you think I can get in on those webinars? Like, those sound interesting. I want the inside scoop.
Oh, yeah. A lot of them are like free or open to the public. Some of them ask for like your work email or like where you work, but I've been getting a lot of them just through CDC or just other like health departments and different companies. I can hook you up with some links.
Yeah, hook me up with some links and let me see if I can get in on that, because like I like stuff like, I did a teleconference. We're recording this on March 19th, which is why Morgan said my birthday's tomorrow. My birthday's on the 20th. Yay, happy birthday to me. But I really like those kind of webinars. So this was recorded the same day that the interview with the physician was recorded. Actually, they just won't be recorded they won't be released on the same day. But like, I did a teleconference with my therapist today, which was excellent. Like, I really needed that. And he said to like try not to pay attention to the news very much, but like I don't feel like that's a thing that I'm going to be able. I mean, I'm trying, but I still want like updated information.
You still need to know what's going on.
Yes, I want to know what's going on. So yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's
good. I'll try to get you some links.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to touch on before we get into some serious stuff?
Oh boy. Any petty complaints on your end? I mean, I can't stop eating, but you probably have some other petty complaints about social distancing.
Okay. I have my main one is that I had to cancel my waxing appointment. So like ever since swimming in college, is this oversharing? Whatever. It's my podcast. It's our podcast. I've always waxed my underarms because like I hate the feeling of like prickly hair there. And that's my petty complaint, is just that I can't go get anything waxed. So I'm a very all or nothing person and have decided that I'm just gonna, like, I'm not gonna see my boyfriend for who knows how long. I'm just gonna see how things go. I'm just not shaving anymore. This is my quarantine bod now.
Yeah, like I'm gonna emerge from this looking like a real wreck. So
yes.
High fives. Let's set up a spa date for whenever in the future I can actually come visit, let's do a spa day.
Can we get a pet? I'm in such dire need of a pedicure.
I have never had one in my entire
Morgan,
life.
what? Really? Okay, we'll go.
I run, so it just seems like I'm like, it's probably a waste. Like I'm just gonna get nasty, callous runner feet again.
But it feels so nice.
Yeah, like I'm totally here for it. Also, I don't run that many miles, so I don't like my feet are a lot better now than they were when I was like 20 and running 80 miles a week. And
yeah, can't relate. Sorry. Although I mean, I was swimming a lot of miles a week, probably. But that's not so hard on your feet. It's not so hard on anything. It's a much lower impact sport, which is probably why your hip bothers you so much now. And I have little to no swimming related complaints. So yeah, that's my petty complaint, is that I couldn't get my underarms waxed. So now I'm just going to turn into a beast while I'm in quarantine because I hate shaving. So there.
You know what? I'm here for it.
Everybody can deal with it.
Let's embrace our natural beauty while we're in isolation.
Sure. As we talk about like our recovering from eating disorders. Sure. Yes. Let's embrace our natural beauty. Okay.
Okay. I can tell anyone about how much they should love their own body and their own selves and how beautiful they are. But as soon as I'm trying to tell that to myself, I am lying through my teeth.
Yep.
So if I say it to someone else, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. But dang, I do not give myself that same amount of grace.
Yeah.
Working on it.
I get it. We're all just on it. We're works in progress.
Yep. Thank you, therapy.
Yes. Everybody go to therapy if you can afford it. And if you can't, I will continue to share what my very nice old wise therapist says on this show. All right. Well.
Yes. Let's talk about something that's not COVID-19.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right. Something that is not COVID-19, a little palate cleanser for everyone. We're going to talk about Syria. Woo-hoo.
Okay, full disclosure, like I don't know a lot about this topic, and I feel a little bit bad about it. So I'm excited to learn about it, and I'm sorry if the questions that I ask are basic.
Well, I'm going to try to keep it pretty like basic, high level, because it's actually very complicated. There's such a long history of the crisis there. But, you know, I just thought we should talk about something that we've heard so much about for the past decade. And yet a lot of people don't really know what's going on there right now or what even, you know, this whole thing is about. Plus, yeah, like talking about war and, you know, deaths from terrorism and stuff instead of, you know, a virus uplifting.
Sure.
Not, but fine. I wasn't trying to be a bummer. I was just like, wow, I feel really passionate about Syria. Let's talk about it. So here we go. So
if it makes you feel better, I think next week I will talk about the Green New Deal, which is like a happy, uplifting topic. So if you could just stick with us through, this is a hard time for everybody. We got to learn about Syria, and then we'll move on to more uplifting topics.
Yes. Just hang on, people. We'll get through it. So 9 years ago, like this week, 9 years ago, almost exactly, was the first. I mean, it's not the first time that there were problems in Syria, but it was like the first like big action the Syrians took to demand freedom from authoritarianism under the current regime of Bashar al-Assad. And it's been a very complicated state of crisis pretty much ever since. At the end of 2019, things really did reach a point, though, that I mean, I don't think it would be overdramatic to call it the worst humanitarian crisis in at least a decade.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're going to hear the word refugee a lot, and that's primarily what we're talking about here. So 4 million Syrian people have been displaced, and 4 million is a lot.
Yeah.
That's more than the entire population of the state that I live in.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And nearly a whole million of those people were displaced just in the past several months.
Mm-hmm.
So just at the end of 2019 through now. Mm-hmm. Most of them are women and children. So most of them are extra vulnerable. Women, children, girls, that puts them at risk for human trafficking, as well as just a whole host of other problems. The current crisis largely right now is in the Idlib region, which is in the northwest corner of Syria.
Okay. And
a lot of the refugees have escaped to that region and are trying, or have, but got escaped into Turkey. Turkey cannot accommodate more refugees in such a short amount of time. 4 million people is a very large influx in a very small region, and there's no region that small that could just take in 4 million people just like that. So Turkey can't accommodate them, and the UN is out of basic resources. When I mean basic resources, I mean basic resources, including tents, which means that there's 100,000 of these refugees who are literally just outside. They don't even have a tent. They're just outside. Syria gets winter. They have winter. It's in this the same seasons we have had. So there's people that have just been freezing to death, just out under a tree. Again, women, children, just normal everyday people, who are just trying to escape war.
That's a good point, because that is something that I think certain members of government will try to make people believe that refugees are dangerous or a threat to Americans, and that is just not the case. They are people just like you and me, who need assistance and need a safe place to go. There are plenty of refugees in the United States. Ilhan Omar is a refugee. She's a member of Congress who was a refugee, and she's a great example of the American dream and what can happen. And she gets harassed all the time. So just when you hear people stoking resentment and fear against refugees, just remember that that is completely unfounded, and that they are people just like you and me.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's part of why everything in Syria really does just get me really fired up. I was in college. I think I was a freshman. Well, yeah, I was for sure a freshman when I was in college. And that was the first time that I actually met and became friends with someone who was a refugee when he was a child. And he's one of the greatest people I have ever known. He is so inspiring. I definitely could talk about him a lot. I mean, there's a whole documentary about him. He's amazing. But even if he wasn't this awesome, inspiring person with a documentary about him, he still really freaking matters.
Yeah.
And that was the first time, me at 18 was really hit with whoa, these are straight up 100% hella real people.
Yep.
And there's so many in the world. And there's no reason they don't deserve our help.
Yeah, if we can provide it, which we can. We are the richest, one of the richest, if not the richest countries in the world, and we can
exactly.
Yeah, we have that ability.
Yeah, and I'll definitely kind of touch on that a little bit too before we sign off on why we should help them. Cities and towns across Syria are in literal ruin. I mean, they're ruined. Refugees and the personnel who are there trying to help them have been facing Russian airstrikes, and those airstrikes are targeting hospitals. So there's these people who are injured from the Syrian government and Russian airstrikes, and then they go to a hospital where people are trying to help them, and then they bomb the hospitals. I mean, that's sick.
So I know Assad is obviously a real bad guy.
Yes, bad dude.
Why is Russia, what is Russia's involvement?
Yeah, that's such a great question, isn't it? Russia has had influence in Syria for decades. That goes way, way back. And for a while, recently, when I say recently, I mean in the past 10 years, it seemed like Russia was really helping the situation there because they had a commitment to helping rid the region of the Islamic State. We've all heard ISIS, and Russia was fighting ISIS. But Russia wasn't just fighting ISIS. they were also fighting any other opposition to Assad, who is an authoritarian dictator,
yeah. He's gassed
people.
He's gassed his own people, children, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, you've got Putin and Assad, who are besties in their own Syrian genocides, who are just like two more bad dudes in a world historically led by bad dudes.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Russia and Putin are helping, and with a little bit of the help of Iran too, but helping to just squash anything remaining from the rebellion to the authoritarianism in the region of the Syrian government. And the UN would need probably $1 billion with a B for relief before it's all over. I mean, that's the level of destruction here by Putin and Assad primarily. And like U.S. and other allies are stepping up to help a little. It's not that just nothing has been done over, this whole thing as well as recently, but it's really only enough to provide relief for immediate needs and never mind enough for rebuilding. It's just enough to kind of cover the immediate needs right now.
Yeah.
So I think that in addition to continuing to provide like financial aid and support, the U.S. and allies have to do a lot. They have to continue to put pressure on Russia to fucking stop. Like,
Russia is bad news. Like, I don't know how to make it more clear to anybody. They are not an ally of ours. Russia is, they're bad guys. We should probably do an entire episode on like the KGB and how like that transformed into now their actual legitimate government. Like it didn't, they're not, I don't even have the words. Yeah, they're bad guys.
Absolutely should. I just thought of that the other day too, when Putin signed something that basically said he can just be president until like 2036 or something, even though next year he was supposed to be out.
Yes.
And I'm like, what? We got to do an episode on that.
Yes.
So yes, let's do that. Got to write that down so we don't forget.
Okay.
So it's not great. And so, we have to put that pressure on Russia to stop it. And we have to ramp up the aid to Turkey, who can't handle an influx of millions of refugees. And we have to provide support to the Syrian relief efforts. And that kind of brings me into especially right now with this whole coronavirus thing, it's like, what? No, we got to take care of our own people first. But this pandemic should be teaching us a lot of lessons. And one of those lessons should be just how small the world really is.
And we are, we are all as vulnerable as our least protected. That's
literally exactly what I was going to say. Yes, exactly. And, Syria is very far away, but it has been and continues to be an important situation on a global level. I mean, culturally, politically, and for national security reasons, we have to pay attention to what's happening there. And we, as in, NATO, the UN, everyone who can help must help.
Yeah.
Allowing terrorism and allowing authoritarianism in just this small region of the world, like the Idlib province, sends a message to leaders like Putin and Assad that it's acceptable to allow terrorism and authoritarianism to rise anywhere, and it is not.
Yeah, and it is rising in our country. It is. That is why Donald Trump likes Putin so much. It also reminds me of. It reminds me. Tulsi Gabbard dropped out of the race finally, but isn't she an Assad apologist? What is that? What's up with that?
She's claims to be anti-war and stuff, but then her, I think she is with that, and I think she's kind of that purist mentality of well, Assad did what he did because of the rebellion in his country, and if there hadn't been people in his country rebelling against his authority, then there wouldn't have been war there in the first place or something.
Sounds like victim blaming.
I really I hate this as a feminist, but I really never paid that much attention to Tulsi because
She's a joke.
I just right from the bat was like, oh, no. Like,
I like that weird gray stripe in her hair, and that is where the things about her that I like end.
Yeah, like, I remember when she, like, tried to, like, physically block a doorway or something to, like, prevent someone from, like, getting married because she was being homophobic about it.
Oh, my God. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I vaguely remember this. It wasn't, like, super recent. And so I remember when I heard her name pop up again as running for president, I was like, wait, what? She's the homophobic one. Like, I thought she was a Republican. What is going on?
Yeah.
So, like, I, like, never paid that
So, bye forever, Tulsi, I hope.
Yeah. Go, please do something good, Tulsi, for the betterment of everyone. Yeah, so I do have a little bit of good news.
Okay.
So as of March 5th, there has been a ceasefire called between Putin and Erdogan of Turkey. Yes, Erdogan, not Erdogan, or however Trump always says it. He says it wrong, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if my dad says Erdogan, I don't care. He's my dad, but if you're president, you should at least know how to say the name of the person who you're sitting in the room with. But anyway,
we can dream.
This is just me being petty. But yeah, so there has been that ceasefire, and so people are able to return to what's left of their towns and homes to try to collect what's left of their things, but not to stay. So, and I said a little bit of silver lining. I meant like a little bit of good news. Yeah. Because they can't stay there. One, so much has been destroyed. And two, they have been in this situation before. There have been ceasefires before. And they know that they can't actually trust that that means peace. Yeah. And frankly, they shouldn't, because they've been in this situation before. Assad has not done a thing to prove that neither his own forces nor Russian forces will actually keep their promises and stop the attacks on Syrian rebels long term. Erdogan's had to appeal to NATO for support because his forces cannot stop Assad and Putin. If Assad and Putin decide to, they can take down Turkey easily in that region. And Turkey doesn't have a place for the refugees who are trying to flood that in that region. They don't have the infrastructure to take care of them. The UN doesn't even have what they need to take care of them. That's why there's people freezing outside trying to huddle under a tree. So, I mean, in short, like, this is not over, and there's maybe like a temporary ceasefire, but that does not mean peace. And even if it does mean peace, like, that's not like, oh, great, now people can go about their business. Like I said earlier, it's going to take $1 billion to even get a semblance of rebuilding going on there. So we need to pay attention to it, and we need to reach out to our members of Congress about helping to support the humanitarian efforts and support the people there who are vulnerable. And, you know, like, let's be people about it. So you can call or write to Congress, write to your representatives about it, about even doing something to aid the humanitarian efforts there. And, you know, you can also just on a personal level donate to groups like the International Rescue Committee or Syria Relief and Development Organization at srd.ngo to help. That organization was founded by a Syrian American and I think her dad together, and they have been boots on the ground there doing so much to help. So there are things that you can do, and so I'm really glad to have just like a little bit of a bright thing to end on, but I just think it's really important that we talk about Syria.
Yeah, for sure. Well, okay, so I have two thoughts. One is that, like, this uncertainty and panic and terror that we are feeling right now because of the pandemic, other people in the world have been feeling because of authoritarian leaders who just don't understand other people's humanity and don't treat them as people. So yeah, that is pretty, I mean, I guess I knew that, but that's pretty eye-opening, and just I will definitely be doing that. But I do have, so you had a little bit of a positive, I have a little bit of a positive too. I mean, this is a huge positive for me, but when you said contact your representatives a week ago, I would have been like, well, my representative is Dan Lipinski, at least in the House, and he doesn't give a shit about anything except trying to restrict women's abortions. So that seems hopeless. But guess what? I mean, you already know this, and anybody who follows me on Instagram knows this, but Marie Newman won my district primary. I was so happy.
Yay!
So happy.
I'm so happy.
I
don't
know.
even live in your state anymore.
Yeah, it was so nice watching those results roll in. We have an episode a couple weeks back about Marie Newman, if you're not familiar with her, but she is amazing. And she is the type of person who I would feel comfortable and excited to reach out to about Syrian humanitarian aid, because I feel like she would actually fucking listen to me. But you can also contact your senators. It's just that your House reps are more like local to you, or at least especially if you live in populous states. How many districts does Iowa have? Like 4?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how many the United States or Illinois has, but it's a lot. It's a lot because Chicago is gigantic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is good news. It was really fun, like watching those returns roll in. She lost by 2,200 votes last time, and I think this time she won by 4,000, and that's with a fucking pandemic going on, you know? So like,
yeah, that's impressive.
I know. So on our last recording, I told you that I was going canvassing for her on Saturday or Sunday, and that I was going to be a poll watcher on election day. They canceled all of that. Like, all of that was canceled, which I would have.
Good for them.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree. I actually, I think we probably recorded our episode Thursday night, and then Thursday night I was like, oh, I can't fucking go to that. My mom cannot afford to get COVID-19. Like, I can't be putting myself in harm's way that way. Clark was going to come with me and everything. Like, we were going to make like a fun morning of it. But yeah, so then we bought 2 to 3 weeks worth of groceries Friday morning, and we have not left since, other than to walk the dog. But so we're in strict isolation. We will be going only to chemo appointments, but everybody in this house was so excited to hear about Marie Newman. And I also, I think I mentioned this last time, that J.B. Pritzker is doing a pretty good job of responding. The Illinois governor is doing a pretty good job of responding to this crisis. He extended the vote by mail deadline a couple hours. So I think it was supposed to close at like 5 on Friday. He extended it till midnight. So I got all of our vote by mail applications in by midnight. So we were actually able to vote without leaving our homes, which I really appreciate that he did that, because at least for us, it made a huge difference. So
yeah, that's awesome. And I think like this Marie Newman winning in this primary proves exactly like what we're trying to express to people, that like getting out there and doing stuff works. I mean, that's how she won, right? She inspired people to get out and volunteer for her. So yeah, like the getting out and voting was a big part of it, but that would not have happened if it wasn't for the volunteers and the passionate people like you and others in your district who worked really hard for this. And I think that's so awesome. And it makes me really, really excited for when this pandemic has at least flattened the curve enough that we can have some social interactions and I can do some door knocking and those kinds of things too. Like, I'm really excited as we hopefully head into a summer full of activism.
For sure. I do have a kitten update.
Yes, kitten update.
Okay. So this makes me very sad. Sometime between the last time we recorded and now, a couple of the kittens started, or really stopped, gaining weight. And We're not really sure why. I obviously called the vet and was getting as much help as I could. We started trying to formula feed them, but some of them didn't really like that. And then the vet ended up picking up one of them and said that it sounded like they have a respiratory infection. And when we agreed to foster, we, one, did not know that she was going to have 9 kittens, and 2, didn't know that there was going to be a pandemic. So I have just been feeling so like super overwhelmed, especially with the idea of like trying to give antibiotics to that many kittens every day or twice a day or whatever, especially with like having to make sure everything's okay with my mom and all that stuff. Like, it was a little bit scary to have the vet come to our house and pick up the first kitten because I'm not supposed to be getting within 6 feet of people. So like, she was very nice. She stayed in our driveway. She stayed in the car. I just brought the kitten out to her. But anyway, earlier today we called them. So this is being recorded on the 19th of March, called the vet and just said like, hey, a couple more kittens are just look like they're not gaining weight like the other ones. Like, their breathing does sound kind of raspy. What should we do? And I was like, I don't feel prepared to take care of them because they're not getting better. Like, we spent a couple days trying to make sure that they got enough formula to gain weight, and it just still wasn't working. They kept getting like more and more lethargic. So we brought them back to the shelter today so that they could be monitored by an actual vet. And instead, we took home an older adult cat named Squeaky, who we are.
Squeaky! I didn't know her name was Squeaky.
Yeah. So
I love it.
I am sad. Like, I feel like I failed sort of, but they're definitely like in safer, better hands now. And when we called them, they were like, what do you think about fostering another cat? And I was like, fine, as long as the kittens are older than like 4 weeks. And she was like, we don't even have any kittens. What about like an older cat? And I was like, oh, hell yeah, I can do that. Like, that's so easy compared to what we've been doing, you know? So yeah, Squeaky has been introduced to our house and is very friendly and is definitely settling in just fine. It's just, you know, not nearly as cute as having a bunch of kittens that are like 2.5 weeks old, but it's definitely like for the best. I already feel so much better, like not being responsible for whether those kittens thrive or not. So I'm sorry. I wish I had more fun kitten news for everybody, but we've got this older foster cat. So I think that, I don't know, it's in everybody's best interest, but that's my kitten update.
Well, and there is something so important to fostering older cats. Yeah. Like, no cat is going to be its best version of itself when it's in a cage, in a shelter. And, you know, the older cats don't get as much attention and as much love. And I'm sure adoption rates are down right now because people aren't leaving their homes.
But I think people go adopt a cat, go foster a cat, because like, they provide a lot, or at least they've provided a lot of entertainment in our house that we wouldn't have had if we didn't have a cat. And like, fostering is temporary. You can, you know, so I don't know. They're being very careful about COVID-19 and stuff. They weren't letting anybody in the shelter today. Like, we stayed in the parking lot and then like we handed off the cages. But yeah, so, and they were very, very appreciative, you know, I gave them probably more work than I'm taking off of their hands, but like, they were appreciative that we were taking anything off of their hands at all. So yeah, I mean, if there's that's another way that you can help if you feel like it. And it's pretty, I mean, especially if you're just getting an older cat, it's pretty low maintenance.
Yeah, exactly. Ugh, if I didn't have a pet limit in this apartment, I'd be fostering like 19 cats.
Aren't you already over your pet limit?
Technically, yes.
I won't tell. I don't think your landlord listens to this podcast.
Yeah, I really doubt it. I don't think my landlord is listening.
Do you know? Okay, so ever since we talked about how we have listeners from Canada, I started like poking around a little bit. We have a listener from Germany.
Oh, hello. We might be related depending on where you're at in Germany.
How do you say hello in German? Guten Tag?
Yeah.
Guten Tag.
We sound so American and we're sorry.
Whatever. We're trying our best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah. All right.
Wait, I have some friends who live in Germany. I wonder if it's one of them. Hi, if it is, hi.
What? You have friends in Germany? You're so cultured.
I try.
So what else are you doing to stay sane this week, especially during quarantine?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I guess I'm enjoying my random crappy TV and movies.
Yeah.
I watched Sarah Palin on The Masked Singer.
Oh my God, I heard about that.
Yeah, that was a whole thing. I don't know if I'm traumatized or if I kind of liked it. I just don't know what's even real anymore.
I don't like Sarah Palin. I don't like that she like normalized like making politics stupid. You know, like she was not prepared to be a vice president, and I don't know. I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of mad about it. I kind of feel the way about that like I felt about Sean Spicer being on Dancing with the Stars, except I'm more annoyed about Sean Spicer being on Dancing with the Stars because he was White House press secretary and he lied to us every goddamn day that he was press secretary. Yeah. And then we were like, as soon as he quit or was fired or whatever, I forget, the rest of America was like, it's okay, we forgive you. Can you be on Dancing with the Stars? Like, fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck normalizing shit like that.
Exactly. And I watched Detective Pikachu, which like a lot of people or like critic people were like, that movie sucks. I thought it was delightful.
Maybe I'll have to watch that.
Pikachu is so cute.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me, one more like positive thing that I wanted to mention. Well, you've been running, right? Although you did have like a petty complaint because more people are on your trails than usual, right?
Okay, yeah. And like I want to get 6 feet away from them, but I'm also like, look, I have been on these trails every day. And you're just here now because the gym is closed. And running is for everyone, so I'm not going to gatekeep it. But also like, it used to be so peaceful and quiet, and now there's so many people.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
And I accidentally ran up behind a group of girls and scared them. And like I felt bad, but I was also like, this is why we don't walk 4 abreast a trail.
Yeah, for sure. There are rules. We live in a society.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes. I don't know. What have I been doing? Almost nothing. I've been talking to my friends, which has been nice. Obviously, talking to a therapist was great. He told me, well, I already mentioned this on the other podcast, but he told me to try to stop taking Xanax every day. And I was like, okay, all right, buddy. Like, sure. Like,
this is not a good time for that.
It's not. And like, I have at this point, I mean, it'd be great if I could cut down, but right now it's like, okay, here's my morning Xanax and my night Xanax. Like, there is no way I like wake up having a panic attack and then like, go, like, it's just not happening. Okay, I remembered what I was going to say though, is that we've gotten a decent amount of new listeners lately because I got to be a guest on Self-Helpless, which is a great podcast that you guys should check out if you like this one. And then also because comedian Rory Scovel, who has always been one of my favorite comedians for years, reached out to me on Instagram because my stories are like actually factual, and he asked people to start listening and like following my page and my stories for like actual updates because we can't trust the federal government right now, which I thought was so cool of him because like he's clearly taking this shit seriously, and I'm just like now an even bigger fan of him.
Yeah, and I love that. And I also love when actors and comedians and authors and whoever says things like that to show that like politics is for everyone. And that whole, like, just stick to telling jokes is bullshit. And, like, just stick to singing or throwing the football or whatever is, like, so offensive.
It is. They're also citizens. Like, when people are like, stay in their lane, like, this is their fucking lane too.
Yeah, like, that's part of the point of this podcast, is to empower people to get politically active. This lane is for everyone.
Yeah. And you'll feel better once you get in it too.
Yeah, exactly. It feels a lot less scary when you're in the midst of it. It's like the opposite of so many other things.
Right.
Like going to a club, which sounds really fun until you're in the midst of it. And then you're like, this is terrifying. Get me out of here, please.
It's loud and people are looking at me weird. Yes.
Yeah. And, like, I say that as an extrovert.
Yeah. Oh, no,
but I also hate clubs because you can't talk. Like, it's too loud. Now I can't talk. And, like, that gives me just fear.
Right. No, I don't understand. I don't understand why people go to the club. But, I mean, whatever. To each their own.
Yeah. Maybe it's because I grew up in cornfields, though. So, like, I literally thought, like, a bonfire in the middle of a field with some cows was the same thing as clubbing.
Oh, poor
until I was
Morgan.
like 23 and went to my first actual club, and I'm like, why are there so many people? This is probably a post of fire code. There are no cows. There's like the drinks are really expensive.
Yes.
It's not just like a cooler full of Busch Light, which is how we do it in Iowa. And I'm like, what is going on here? And why are all these people touching me? You do not have my permission.
Yeah. Problematic.
Yeah.
But nobody's going to clubs anytime soon.
Give me cows any day.
Sure. Cows can't get COVID-19.
It's true.
Yeah. All right. Anything else that we didn't get to that you wanted to talk about?
I mean, we can just talk about it all later because there's so much talking that I need to do.
Okay.
Just in general, due to social distancing. So we can just take that off the pod.
Okay. All right. Well, then we will check in with you guys next week with another interview and another episode from me and Morgan. So thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you so much, and good luck with your social distancing.
Yeah. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye. Make sure you follow along on Instagram at FYMI Pod. Shout out to Hope Dye for the podcast art and Kyle Dibdahl for the intro and outro music and Ben Schlofelt for the audio production.
Please subscribe to this podcast, and if you like it, give us a rating and review. It makes it easier for other people to find us, and the more of us there are, the better. We come out with new episodes every Monday.